Hey guys, Ehsan here. Welcome back to the channel. We're about to jump into a full walkthrough of Elden Ring's DLC Shadow of the Erdtree. But before we get started, let me quickly break down exactly what you're getting from this run. If you're looking for a walkthrough that gives you the smoothest possible journey through the DLC, collects every single item, completes every NPC questline, and gives you one of the strongest builds for the entire expansion, then this guide was made for you. 0 missable items, 0 failed questlines, and 0 getting stuck anywhere in the realm of Shadow. This is the build we'll be using to breeze through the DLC from start to finish. The logic behind it is incredibly simple, but honestly, it's completely broken. We're basically a tank and a nuke rolled into one, with ridiculous damage output and insane damage negation throughout the entire DLC. We're not just gonna beat these bosses. We're gonna straight up humiliate them. In this walkthrough, we are the final boss, and that's not just trash talk. We became Elden Lord in the base game, and we're stepping into the DLC with that exact same energy. This build keeps us feeling that powerful from beginning to end. As a caster, this setup allows us to deal top tier damage across almost every damage type in the game. Physical, holy, magic, lightning, and fire, all within the same build, and without having to respec. Most of the gear we'll be using actually comes directly from the base game. You can also check out my complete Elden Ring base game walkthrough, where we cleared 100% of the map and collected every single item in under 70 hours. Now, there are 3 core pieces of gear that are absolutely non-negotiable. There are no real substitutes for them in this setup: the Glintstone Kris, Lusat's Glintstone Staff, and the Golden Order Seal. The Glintstone Kris is going to be our bread and butter weapon for open world exploration and sniping regular enemies from a safe distance. Without a doubt, this dagger easily deserves a place among the top 10 weapons in the entire game. Every piece of gear you can see on screen right now is stacking together to increase the damage of this dagger's skill. Honestly, even if you're entering the DLC with a pure intelligence build, you can put sorceries like Knight, Comet, and Comet aside when dealing with regular enemies and simply spam the Glintstone Kris skill instead. Its damage per FP efficiency is absolutely ridiculous. Since our intelligence is sitting at 65, Lusat's Glintstone Staff is one of our strongest options for raw sorcery damage. It gives us excellent sorcery scaling at high intelligence, but keep in mind that it also increases the FP cost of every sorcery by 50%. Even though our fate is only 33, we are still going to melt a large number of remembrance bosses and mini-bosses using incantations. That's exactly why the Golden Order Seal is essential for this build. Unlike most sacred seals, it scales with both intelligence and fate, making it perfect for our hybrid stat distribution. At 80 intelligence and 80 fate, this seal becomes an absolute monster. But even with our current stats, its damage output is already ridiculous, and you'll see that for yourself during the walkthrough. Any other weapons I pull out during this series are mostly going to be personal preference. I'll use different weapons, sorceries, incantations, and combat setups during certain fights so you can see how they actually perform in real gameplay. Because this build gives us access to such a wide range of physical and elemental damage options, we can freely swap between different setups depending on the boss, the enemy, or simply whatever looks the most fun. I'll explain everything else as we play. So, without further ado, let's dive straight into Shadow of the Erdtree.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella? I am Leda, and like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm, and you too will be transported to the realm of Shadow where Miquella the Kind now dwells. My compatriots are there already. Like us, they have heard kindly Miquella's call. If you can find them, they are certain to lend you aid.
On top of the 18 larval tears in the base game, there are 9 more in the DLC. These only appear at night, so let's pass the time until nightfall and grab our first larval tear. Right near the beginning of the DLC, there's also an enemy that is genuinely worth farming. Its helmet gives you 5 extra points in dexterity. However, in exchange for those 5 levels, it reduces the amount of health restored by your flask of Crimson Tears by 7% and lowers your focus by 30 points. And lower focus means you will be more vulnerable to madness and sleep buildup. The DLC also introduces several brand new weapon categories, and one of them is the Backhand Blade category. There are only 3 Backhand Blade weapons in the entire game, and one of them can be obtained by farming this exact enemy. You will encounter this enemy in a few different areas, but this is easily the best farming spot. I'm definitely going to farm it myself, just not right now. The DLC introduces a completely new upgrade system. There are 2 separate blessings, one for your character and another for your Spirit Ash summons. And because of this system, you really don't need to enter the DLC at some ridiculously high character level. A huge portion of your character's damage output and damage negation, as well as your Spirit Ash's damage and survivability, comes from these 2 blessing systems. There's also a limited number of each one available throughout the DLC. More specifically, there are 25 Revered Spirit Ashes to collect. These allow you to upgrade your Revered Spirit Ash blessing, increasing the damage dealt by your summoned spirits, while also reducing the damage they take. This table shows you exactly how your Spirit Ash summons will perform at each blessing level. This is where we're going to pick up our very first Scadutree Fragment, which is used to upgrade your character throughout the DLC. Most Scadutree Fragments and Revered Spirit Ashes are simply sitting out in the world for you to pick up. However, some of them are obtained by killing specific enemies, and a few even come from field bosses. This crispy little guy was apparently cooked by Mesmer and his forces, and for some reason, he's also wearing a pot on his head. You'll find these little potheads in several locations throughout the DLC, and killing one will reward you with either a Scadutree Fragment or a Revered Spirit Ash. Once they notice you, though, they may start running away and eventually disappear, just like those teardrop scarabs in the base game. If one disappears, simply quit out and reload the game to make it respawn. And here's the real danger. Every location containing one of these potheads is basically designed like a trap. Once you kill one, it drops its item directly onto the ground. If you die before picking that item up, it will be permanently missable for the rest of that playthrough. So whenever you see the trap icon appear in the corner of the screen, you'll know exactly what's going on. You have 2 safe options. First, you can completely clear out every enemy surrounding the pothead before going after him. Don't worry if he disappears. Once the area is safe, simply quit out and reload the game to make him respawn. Or, if you kill him immediately, make picking up the dropped item your absolute first priority. Grab it before doing anything else. That way, even if the enemies kill you afterward, at least you won't permanently miss the upgrade material. There are 50 Scadutree Fragments in total throughout the DLC. This table shows you exactly how much your damage output increases and how much additional damage negation you gain at each Scadutree blessing level. Just remember, this system is only active while you're inside the realm of shadow. It has absolutely no effect back in the base game. These blessing levels are also permanent and carry over into New Game Plus. So, when you return to the DLC in your next playthrough, you won't need to collect all these fragments again, unless you missed some during your first run and still haven't reached the maximum blessing level. The best way to deal with NPC bosses is to use the Giant Hunt Ash of War. With the right timing, you can easily spam it over and over. If you land it while the enemy is in the middle of an attack, it counts as a counter hit and deals significantly more damage. NPC bosses are especially vulnerable to Giant Hunt. It launches them into the air and completely interrupts whatever attack they were trying to perform. Spears are the best weapons to use with Giant Hunt. The longer the spears reach, the easier the fight becomes. The best spear in the game is found in the DLC, and we'll farm it later. But for now, just use the best spear you currently have, and you should be able to beat this boss very easily.
Overrated as fuck.
We're about to fight our first Furnace Golem. Each one of these bosses drops a new crystal tear. The best way to fight Furnace Golems is while riding Torrent. Whenever they slam one foot into the ground, you can easily avoid the fire damage with a single jump or a double jump. But if you see one of them leap completely into the air and come crashing down with both feet, that means it's about to unleash a much larger and more powerful fire attack. In that situation, you shouldn't stay close. Create some distance first, then jump over the flames with Torrent. The two most important things you need to focus on during these fights are managing your stamina and maximizing your fire damage negation. Dealing direct damage to them isn't the main goal. What really matters is breaking their stance. You'll deal most of your damage once they collapse to the ground. For each furnace golem, you need to keep attacking its legs until you break its stance twice and bring it down. The Deflecting Hardtear is probably the most exciting item in the entire DLC because it basically turns Elden Ring into Sekiro. The only problem is that its effect lasts for just 5 minutes, which is why I've personally never used it that much. But if they had turned this thing into a talisman, I honestly would have done everything I could to play the rest of Elden Ring like Sekiro after obtaining it. Normally, if you two-hand your weapon or equip a shield, you can press L1 to block incoming attacks. The game also has parrying, but parrying is considered a skill. To perform a parry, you need to press L2, and there are several different parry ashes of war that you can obtain throughout the game. Elden Ring also introduced another mechanic called the guard counter. After blocking an attack, you can press R2 to immediately perform a guard counter. But once you activate the Deflecting Hardtear, you also gain the ability to deflect attacks. Deflecting is not the same thing as parrying. It's still technically a block, but you need to time it correctly. You have a window of roughly 6 frames before the attack connects to press L1 and turn a normal block into a deflection. If you time it correctly, you will take absolutely no physical damage, even if you are blocking with a basic dagger or one of the lightest shields in the game. Deflecting instead of blocking also massively reduces the amount of stamina you lose. However, a 6-frame deflection window is extremely tight for Elden Ring. To use it consistently, you basically need to memorize the movesets and attack timings of enemies and bosses throughout the entire game. And you only get 5 minutes to use this mechanic because the Deflecting Hardtear has to be mixed into your Flask of Wondrous Physique. Deflecting cannot completely negate elemental damage, but it reduces it by at least 75%. The safest way to use this mechanic is to equip a shield with 100% physical damage negation. That way, even if you mistime the deflection and perform a normal block instead, you won't take any physical damage. You'll simply lose more stamina. One of the best things about the Deflecting Hardtear is that every successful deflection increases the power of your next guard counter. If you successfully deflect one attack and immediately perform a guard counter, that guard counter will deal 20% more damage than usual. This bonus can stack all the way up to 80%. To reach the maximum bonus, you need to successfully deflect 4 times before performing your guard counter. However, this damage bonus only lasts for around 5 seconds. If you don't perform a guard counter, within that window, the stacks will disappear. Some weapons, such as the Backhand blade class weapons, also have unique guard counter animations. So, if you are willing to take a risk and fully commit to this playstyle, one of the 3 Backhand blade class weapons could be among the most interesting choices for using the Deflecting Hardtear.
Ah, Lady Leda spoke of you. You're that tarnished. Guided here by kindly Miquella. Won't we all? I am Freya. I once fought alongside General Radahn. In battle, you can be sure I'll hold my own. Oh, another thing. Did you speak to our dour little friend? If you've yet to do so, have him give you a map of the Cross's whereabouts. You'll find more of them dotted about these lands. They are Miquella the Kind's footprints.
Fie, another. Treading the heels of Miquella. Then, as that woman would surely say, we are in our purposes well aligned. But understand, your kind are not forgiven. The Erdtree is my people's enemy. By Marika long betrayed, set aflame. I believe Miquella's apologies when he says our delivery will come, but never will I see your kind as worthy. And yet my oath I cannot overlook. If Miquella it is whom you would seek, then comrade, allow me to give you this. These are the sites of the crosses I found. I urge you, follow after Miquella. As long as you abide by his footfalls, you will be no enemy to me. I urge you, as long as you...
You must be the Tarnished. I am Ansbach. Formerly in service to Lord Moog, but now, like you, another soul guided by kindly Miquella. I'm hardly the steady hand I once was. My fighting days are far behind me, which is why I have chosen to dedicate myself to investigation, to discern tender Miquella's ultimate purpose. I'd rather not volunteer service to a new master unless I know that I can be of use. May I request a service of you? 6 crosses identical to this one have been discovered in these lands. They are akin to tender Miquella's footprints, or gravestones, which mark what he's left behind. If you discover any more crosses, be certain to tell me. I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Miquella is doing here.
Hello there. Together, we work. Together. For Miquella the Kind. Many things we have found. I like finding things. For you, Lady Leda, her allies, and the forager brute. Things bring joy to all. Goodbye.